The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.
As our countdown to Cheltenham continues, we have returned to the Gavin Lynch Racing Studios to bring in one of the best betting minds in racing for our annual Cheltenham Festival preview on the Final Furlong podcast. Gavin Lynch, welcome back to the show.
Emmet, how are you?
I'm in good form. Thank you very much for doing this again. It's great
You're very
to be
welcome.
back with you. Thank you for having me in the studio again too.
Pleasure.
Great, much appreciated. I did see somebody sending me some screen grabs, Final Furlong podcast listeners who are members of yours, who are on the gravy train if everything goes to plan. The horses that you have put up, the vast majority of them are all significantly shorter for the races at Cheltenham now.
They're still alive and well anyway. That's a start. All bar, I think 2 of them, maybe 3 of them are still in with a decent shout. So yeah, we'll see. You need a lot of luck. It's obviously very, very competitive racing. So you might back a horse at 20 to 1 that goes off 7 to 1 and finishes second, and you think, oof, oh, that's a pity. You know, I remember
that's racing, folks.
I remember one year on Up in the Ante, I think I tipped up Kilcrut at 14s and Ellie May at 14s, and the 2 of them went off in and around, I don't know, maybe I'm going to say evens, but I'm not sure. And the 2 of them finished second, and things could have went better. The 2 of them could have won by a short head, you know, which that's the way it goes.
It's the break of the ball. I can't help but notice Final Demand tipped up on GavinLynchRacing.com at 20 to 1. Now 7 to 4. Gallop on the Champ you put up on the Final Furlong podcast at the start of the season as basically a good thing. That's looking okay at 4 to 1. Dancing City 10s into 3s. Factophile 5s into 6 to 4, obviously for the Ryanair. Dino Blue 5 to 1 to 13 to 8. Hello Neighbour 14 to 1 into 5 to 1. I should have listened to you. I really should have. I said that on a Cheltenham preview the other night as well. 6.5 13 to 2 into 11 to 4. The Wallpark 33s.
6.5 to 1. See that?
Hey. The Wallpark each way 33s into 10s. The Big Westerner 12s into 9 to 2. Romeo Coolio 12s to 6s. Midnight Our Fred 20s to 8s. I could go on and on and on. There's loads more. Bustleton, Lark in the Morning, Calypso Chance, The Wallpark, Gaelic Warrior. Finally, we found one that hasn't quite worked out.
No,
after all of them,
he won't be winning anyway.
This is what the YouTube comments will be now. Do you know the last time I did one with you in this studio, somebody made a comment, Emmet Bobby Charlton Kennedy, because of the receding hairline. So I'm close to doing the full Aidan O'Hara and getting rid of it, but I'm just desperately trying to cling on to what's left of it. I can't.
I'm heading that way myself.
No, you're not. You still have the full head.
No. I just brush mine to the side now.
If my hairline suddenly starts to return, you'll know he's won the Euro Millions and he's been to Turkey.
Yeah, I was going to say, show me your return flight to Turkey.
Can't do it. Okay, it's not about what you've tipped, it's about what you're going to tip. So let's talk about...
Yeah, what do we know? We're 6 days out, so let's see if we can spot a bit of value, because there will be value. There'll be value now, there'll be value at the weekend, and there'll definitely be value after the final entries come out, or the final declarations. I remember one year, Bobsworth, nobody knew whether he was going to go to the, what do you call it now, the Turners or the Bartlett.
Yes.
And was a 48-hour decks back then, it probably was. So for the Monday morning at 10:40, the entries came out, and Bobsworth was not in the Turners. And I remember 1 or 2 bookmakers, I won't say their names, but they were still going 4 to 1 for the Bartlett half an hour later. So you can just, you know what I mean? You can just spot stuff. You'll see. I'll talk about a horse later on and a possible jockey booking. That might be interesting. So anyway, I'm just saying to you, keep your eyes open and you will spot a bit of value between now and Friday week. Okay, so look, most of our viewers, most of our listeners, vast majority of people listen to the show, they know the form. Yep.
They know what's going on. We don't need to be patronising, condescending people. What we're looking for is the Gavin Lynch genius, how you see these markets, quick run through the division. So we're going to go through novice hurdlers, novice chasers, hurdlers, chasers. We'll begin. Kopek Des Bordes, obviously an odds-on favourite for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. That performance at the DRF was unbelievable. Jeff Banks bet goes 6 to 5 on. I have a feeling he'll be evens.
Absolutely, already he's 2.18 on the exchanges. He'll definitely be even money on the day, without any question or doubt. And if you're going to do a few multiples, there's a lot of the even money favourites that are knocking about that I won't put into multiples, but I would put him in. Now, what I'll say is at the DRF, and everybody knows this, he was on his toes if he had toes. He was sweating up. Jane Mangan was having a conniption about him beforehand. And she was only saying what she was seeing. So and he presumably drifted a little bit then. Allow a little bit of him being on his toes on next Tuesday. He's not going to be quiet as a lamb. Now they'll probably bring him. If I trained horses, I said this to somebody lately, that if I trained horses, I would bring horses in the last second into the parade ring, 1 lap and gone. I'd have them out. I don't see why you'd go around. the parade ring 5 times with huge crowds and noise and colours and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd say he'll be in and out, but also he'll have earplugs. For me, more importantly, would be how he takes going down to the start and stuff. But anyway, I'm just saying, allow a little bit. He's going to be a bit on his toes. He's going to sweat up a little bit. And whoever's down to the start for ITV or whatever, they'll be talking about him and they'll make it into a big story. And it's probably not a big story. So I think that he could even drift a little bit again. I think he'll be 5-4 on the day, at some stage of the day. And then at the death, I'd say they might come from. But the standard he sets at the moment is a huge standard. To go from, it was an ordinary enough bumper last year at Fairy House. The performance at Christmas with Patrick on board was shocking, that a horse could jump so badly and still win. And then his jumping with Paul on board was brilliant at the DRF, and he looks a beast. You could maybe find fault with the race, but the one thing I'll say in terms of a price is that it's a deep enough Supreme. If you look at the next 6 or 7 in the bet, and they're all very impressive last time out, you're looking at Romeo Coolio, Salvatore Mundi, Work Ahead, William Money, Aronsi, Kiss Will, Carbo. Nobody knows how good any of those are.
Yeah.
So if you're a bookmaker, there's some race at Cheltenham where you don't have a lot going for you to beat the horse that you're laying, but there's certainly, I think it's a deep enough Supreme. What do you think?
I think he's in a different league and he'll win. Mm-hmm. That performance, he was so bad jumping at Christmas, I couldn't have him on my mind for a Supreme Novice Hurdle. Then he goes to the Dublin Racing Festival. Paige Fuller very kindly sent me the race IQ data. She's on the show on Friday. We'll do the full final answers for Cheltenham. 10.72 was his lengths gain jumping. It was the highest of any horse over the 2 days. He's the only horse at the festival, at the Dublin Racing Festival, to win over the 2 days in a sub 4 minute time over obstacles. Yeah,
just about. It was 3:59 point something. But what I'll say is that he was too keen down the back straight. Then the loose horse got involved. Yeah. Nearly brought him out 2 out. And then he switched in again, winged 2 out and went on again. Right? It was an amazing performance, right? He just needs to do things right. This is a better race than the race he won at the DRF. Obviously, we know that. I'm not saying something we don't know. But I'm just saying to you, he would want to jump well. He'd want to travel well. He'd want to behave beforehand. And he wouldn't want to be too keen. He wouldn't want to get to the top of the hill 5 furlongs out and be pulling Paul's arms out. And next thing, he's kind of in front and he's too... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the chances are they're going to go a rattling good gallop here. There's horses that have won from the front. So the race should set up very well for him. But I mean, you know, he's not 3-1. He's even money 5-4. Just, he'd want to do things right, but I do think he'll win, yeah.
I think Paul Townend is an absolute genius of a jockey.
He is, yeah.
He's a magnificent jockey.
He is.
He's gotten involved in some strange pace battles. Facel Vega, High Definition, State Man, last him out this year. Work Ahead's going to be on the pace. Is that a problem?
I think Kopek Des Bordes would love to sit 3rd or 4th, personally.
Okay.
I think that's where he will sit. If a horse like Kiss Will or Carbo or one of those, Work Ahead will be up there. Romeo Coolio is definitely going to be up there. He doesn't have to lead either. But what you'd say with Romeo Coolio, and he's probably similar to Kopek Des Bordes, is that a really good 2-miler, but probably doesn't quicken a lot. He just loves to go, a bit like Brighter Days Ahead, saying the Champion Hurdle, that they've found out how to ride her, is that he goes a very fast gallop and can maintain it, no problem for 2 miles. Do you know what I mean? He's not just a switch in and buzzed up horse that gets there at the last.
How did he not win the Champion Bumper? He saved ground on the inside, came up the straight, and Jasmine DeVoe, widest of all, gets him. Yeah, it drives me mental. People that are members of my site, I talk about it quite a lot, is I detest, if I back a horse, I hate them going up the inside. You've said this before.
Yeah, and if you watch Paul Townend, where does he go in Navan the other day?
Outside.
Where does he go in Naas? Where does he go in Gorham Park in the Thyestes?
Yeah.
You go and watch it. And where does Patrick Mullins usually go?
Maybe we shouldn't have been too harsh on Jacques Ricou hugging the outside rail.
But you watch Patrick Mullins, who's a clever lad in bumpers, and he runs the course beforehand. He's always to the wide outside. I just don't get... Like last year, Romeo Coolio for me was on the worst of the ground on the inside in the Cheltenham bumper. The ground was bad last year, do you know? But
even the horses against Somnus that tried, like Quilixios went up the inside at Leopardstown. Didn't help at all. Now, Henry's horses were 6, so probably didn't make a difference.
Yeah, I just prefer a horse spin ridden wide. And what I'd say about Romeo Coolio last year, because he's a really good workhorse, you'd imagine, that they held him up. It was a Keith that rode him, and then he comes there travelling. I just think what he prefers is going for his race further out and just maintaining a strong gallop for like a half mile or a mile, as he showed at Christmas. But I think it's a really good Supreme and very difficult to beat the Jolly.
Okay, for anybody who wants to have an each-way play, if they're just looking at this and going, yeah, it's 6-5 on with Jeff Banks bet, even the 5-4 if we get it. By the way, if we get that, that's a gift. But even if he goes 5-4 on the day, and they just don't want to take that price, who would be the each-way play?
The non-sensible each-way play would be Salvatore Mundi. He could be a very close second, or he could finish 10th, because he's had 4 runs and he's as mad as a bag of cats, right? The last day in Punchestown, he was way too keen. His jumping's not good. If he behaves himself, he has a big engine. But I would imagine Romeo Coolio is very, very solid. And also I think William Money will reverse form with work ahead from Christmas. He was 7 lengths behind him. He's had 2 runs since. He went way too quick against Cowabunga at Fairy House. They went grade 1 pace that day. It was a very quick time, but I think he went too quick. And his jumping both days wasn't great. His jumping the last day in Punchestown in a worse race was much better. They'll hold him up. I could just see him being in the first 3, but you've got Aronce, you've got Kisswill, you've got Carbo. Nobody knows how good any of these horses are. And the one thing you have to remember as well, that Willie Mullins is, they can improve tons from one run, as you saw with Kopek Des Bordes.
Yeah. Be some story if William Money wins the Michael O'Sullivan Supreme Novices Hurdle.
No, but fair play to Sky Bet and all the BHA and everybody else for making it the Michael O'Sullivan.
Jockey Club, yeah.
The Jockey Club, rather. The Michael O'Sullivan Supreme Novices Hurdle. It's a fantastic gesture, and it certainly, there's a small cloud over the festival this year. God love.
Yeah. Massive.
Yeah.
We'll be covering the race on TalkSport too. That's going to be a tough one. Final selections. Kopek Des Bordes wins.
Yes, I think so, and I think it'll take either him to be too keen or make mistakes, or else something else to get to a 160 level, which is freakish. Turners.
Some crack on X over the last few days. Oh, he might be going for the Albert Bartlett.
Yeah, I just think. I think if you're an owner and Willie Mullins is, you're better off. Personally, I think to say nothing. But anyway, that's just me.
I agree, by the way, but I like to hear from them.
Yeah. But as regards where the horse is going to go, like, I know that JP had a big influence on last year's Factify going to the Brown Advisory instead of
It's JP though.
The Turners. That's different.
That's Frankie Tightlips.
I heard Willie Mullins in a Sporting Life tour, and there was absolutely no doubt, 100%. Final demand goes to the Turners. Ruby Walsh was on a podcast the other day, and he said the same thing. So I'd imagine final demand go here. Now, obviously, it's a bit of a worry for him. Decent ground, and that would suit the new line, who's a very much a gearsy horse. What I would say to you is that final demand is by walk in the park out of a mare called Zuzka. She won 3 times on good ground. I don't think it's the end of the world for him. I think final demand, if you're going to have a bet for the 2026 Cheltenham Festival, I think final demand for the Brown Advisory.
Yes.
That's the one.
Yes.
I didn't back him
this
now.
on a Cheltenham preview last night.
Yeah, I didn't back him now. I'm just saying, but if you want to put on 1 and get 7 or 8 back next year, I'd imagine, if things go his way, he's a massive chance in a race like that. So he's going to be a 3-miler. He was very good in Limerick at Christmas. The 2nd, 3rd and 4th have all won since. He was excellent in the DRF. He beats Wingman by the same distance that the Yellow Clay did at Naas, etc. But similar to Kopek to me, to go from a maiden hurdle to winning a grade 1 that impressively, like Kopek to me did and Final Demand did, is really remarkable. And I think that they can improve again. I don't think they'll just go to the DRF level. I think they'll get better. Willie trains them that way. The new line, we all know the form.
He hasn't beaten horse yet.
No, and the Challow, as we all know, that's what I was going to say, is that
Potter's Charm beat Bill Joyce by further, and Potter's Charm was beaten.
Yeah. The form of the Challow's not great. But he certainly looks the real deal, but I definitely wouldn't back the new line. I think Final Demand will go here. It'll depend on how many winners Willie has on the Tuesday. But if you're getting something like 9-4, 5-2, I'd be prepared to take a chance on the ground. You have to remember the DRF was 2-6, and Willie made a comment afterwards that why don't we change that distance to 2-5 or 2-4 at the DRF, which I think is a good idea. So, but he's only stepping back 1 furlong. Now, obviously, the old track in Cheltenham on the Wednesday is an easier course, really, than Leopardstown. It's more of a gearsy race, but it's only a furlong less. His jumping in Limerick and his jumping in the DRF was decent, but it could be better. He brushed his way through 3 or 4 of them. He's a horse of massive potential. The Yellow Clay has an each-way squeak.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's had the 4 runs. He did well. He looked like he was beat against Fleur in the Park and Navan. Just got up to win.
He's deceptively fast too.
Yeah, I think if I gave you an open checkbook and you're buying them for the same money, would you sooner own Final Demand or the Yellow Clay?
Oh, to be honest, Final Demand.
So-
He's completely unexposed. Like the Yellow Clay has had more runs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have a fair idea of what the Yellow Clay is. I think he's very good. He's very, very good. I have no idea how good Final Demand could be. No clue.
I was going to say to you there is, I think that what's the name of the course manager at Cheltenham? Pullian?
Ian Pullian.
Pullian. He's under pressure to have softish ground at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Animal rights, it's a big stage.
The welfare brigade.
Yeah, no, that's the world we live in. It's the same for the Aintree Grand National. It's the same for Cheltenham. All the eyes, the biggest meetings of the year. He has to provide safe ground. That's the only thing in his mind right now is when to turn on the taps if he needs to. They changed the going yesterday, I think, to good to soft in places.
No rain forecast.
Not really. There's a bit coming, I think, on Friday, but that's only a bit. 3 mils or something, and that'll change. But
and the track drains unbelievably well. Which
other
would be a
thing is-
concern for day 2.
Well, I was talking to somebody, and they can water Tuesday night. They don't tend to always do it, but if needs be, they will do it.
Okay.
But I accept your point. That's the way I was thinking, what you just said. But you also have to remember, right, the first race, what time is it? 1:30? Something like that?
1:20, I think.
Okay. That's fine. So it's if you've got a drying day, if it's sunny and windy, by the time the champion hurdle comes, not till 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to put on, I think he'll put on a good bit of water, but for Tuesday and Wednesday. And as I said to you, his
That's a
number
good
one
point.
his number one thing is that it has to be safe. He needs soft in the descriptions. He can't let it be good ground. Just watch the time of the Supreme. If they do it in 3:50, that's quick. If they do it in 3:45, it's very quick. If they do it in 4 minutes, that's perfect. If I was the clerk of the course, what I would be going by is the times. Now, obviously, it's a bit late, but in your preparation in your head of what the ground should be, I would, every year, if I was him, I would try and get the Supreme to be run in at least 4 minutes.
Okay. I'm of the opinion Final Demand wins this race. I think he's the best horse in it. I also think that this idea that he's a 3-mile chaser, you remember Faugheen? Like, we have no idea what he's going to be.
Faugheen could have been anything. He was a 3-mile chaser. He won it over 3 mile in Limerick and stuff. Yeah.
But people were saying, he's a good thing for the Albert Bartlett. Noel Hayes was saying to us, he's never going for that race, lads. He's going for what is the Turners. Like, he knew. This guy, the second Nick Luck interviewed him, Willie, at the Dublin Racing Festival.
No doubt.
Immediately he says, oh, no, he's going back and trip.
Because, as Ruby said the other day, he doesn't want to bottom out a future star. And the Albert Bartlett, it's a bit of a graveyard of a race, really, isn't it?
He trained his dam as well. He'd know this family really well.
Suzka, yeah. So I think he has the gears. You could pick holes in the form from the DRF that the race fell apart a little bit.
I don't think you can. World of Fortunes has come out and won. Okay, it's a mare's listed race, but still she's come out and won.
Yeah,
Mozzie's sister is not far behind. Like, if you're talking about form, the New Line's done nothing except be very visually impressive.
Mm-hmm. And I think the slalom in and out made him look more impressive than...
Yeah, he was being sold. Well done.
Yeah, no, it worked. I think there's going to be money at some stage for James's Gate. I'm not saying he's going to win. I think there'll be money for him.
They messed up though, didn't they?
They did, because they got Betty Shorthead twice in 2 Coral Cups, and this was their Coral Cup horse again, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
But he's only had the 4 runs, and so he's not qualified. He's not even entered now at this stage. There's no point.
He's a good horse, though.
He's a good horse, and he travelled well. He would have absolutely bolted up in Navan, except for a mistake after the last in Navan. Just don't be surprised if there's money for him. But yeah, I backed Final Demand ages ago. Will I back him again at 2-1? I won't, but I'll be watching it through the back of my fingers, yeah.
Okay. The closer we get, the more nervous I'm getting. But I am extremely confident he wins.
When you've been doing it as long as I have, I don't get nervous anymore. Just...
See, I need to take a Valium. The problem with that is I can't do that when I'm on the radio. You can't be like,
if you've got 2 teenage daughters, 16 and 18, 17 and 18 as of 2 days ago, then that puts Cheltenham in perspective.
Okay, fair enough. And congratulations and happy birthday to them. Potato race. So, not going to go. Yellow Clay, not going to go. Big Westerner. Jeff Banksbeck goes 11-2 about her. Now, that's industry best price. That seems fair. But surely, you've made the point several times, this is a race where a big priced horse comes and wins.
Yeah, now, I'm going to contradict myself many a time on our chat. I've backed the Big Westerner ages ago. So, we're talking about now, this minute. I think she's without the Yellow Clay certainly would have been favourite. Obviously, the Final Demand would have been a sharp price favourite. The Yellow Clay would have been favourite after winning the Lawlers, but he's not going. So anyway, the Big Westerner, I liked her a lot when I seen her in Punchestown, and I really loved her at Limerick at Christmas. The race wasn't near good enough for her. She was keen the whole way around, and she comes down the outside and she wins easy enough. She beats Mossie's sister, as we said, was third to Final Demand. So I think the form is fine, and I love the fact that she's won basically over the trip. It was 2 miles, 7.5 maybe in Limerick, right? So we'll call it 3 miles. A lot of the time, the reasons why this race is so bad for punters, the last 10 years, the average price winner was more than 20 to 1, right? The thing is that we keep seeing these 2.5 milers think, oh, geez, he would love the Bartlett. It doesn't work out that way. It's an absolute grueler of a race. For a novice hurdler to be going 3 miles on the new course, like this race should be on the old course. It really is a little bit of cruelty that it's run on the new course, because they start racing a long way out. There's only 2 hurdles in the last 7 furlongs. They start racing on the way down the hill, and then they turn in. And when they turn in, they've nearly 3 furlongs up a hill, and you've already ran 2 miles 5. So it's just a phenomenal test of stamina. You're going to see things in it that have chances, like JetBlue has a chance, Flicker of Hope has a chance, because he's had plenty of runs.
I did a podcast with James Reevely yesterday. He was pretty bullish about him. You can hear that on the Final Furlong podcast now. Or watch it on the YouTube channel.
On JetBlue?
Proceed. Yeah.
Yeah, so Wingmen would have a chance. People are fancying Jasmine DeVoe, but obviously we know his jumping's appalling.
He can't win this.
He can if he jumps, but sure, I wouldn't back
There's only 2 hurdles down the back straight.
Yeah, in the last 7. But in the last 7 furlongs. But yeah, maybe, like, the other thing is, people say to you, the Big Westerner, no mare has ever won the Bartlett, you can't do it. But I think very few have tried, and most of them were 25 to 1 shots. So
And she's a half sister to Stay Away Faye.
she is, who won it a few years ago. So the little question mark I'd have, I love the way she jumps, the way she travels. The only little worry you'd have is that you'd like to see the ground a little bit of giving it. And again, how much Cheltenham are going to water will have a big bearing on a lot of these results. And if there was a bit of rain in the second half of the week, it would be a massive help to the Big Westerner.
There's a really weird stat that Paul Ferguson has for the Weatherby's Cheltenham Festival Betting Guide. We've done 3 specials with him for Cheltenham.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1 horse has won this race who competed, never mind 1, competed in a graded bumper. So the only thing that's telling me is this goes to big backward types that don't show any precocity. There's nothing been shown early on, and they're going to be battle hardened stayers essentially. Willie Mullins though does odd things, and Argento Boy at 40 to 1 for a horse that did bomb out earlier in the season does have Cheltenham experience. He interests me slightly. Just at a massive 40 to 1 with Jeff Banks bet. He's one of the darts I'm throwing.
Yeah.
You're not enthusiastic though.
Yeah, you'd have a chance. It's the race. The other day I was on a preview panel in London, and Pat Cooney was there from Bet365, and he said that for the whole 12 months of the year, the one race that they make the most money on average every year is the Albert Bartlett.
Oh my God.
So
is he putting a new roof on his pool? A second story in his pool?
So look, at anything go in the Bartlett, don't get too heavily involved. Argento Boy, yes, has a chance. Like, don't forget, was only beaten a length by the Big Westerner back in November. So yeah, the Bartlett, Jesus.
He's 40 to 1, she's favourite.
You'd go broke if you were just backing the Bartlett every day.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, Gordon has. I think one of the reasons Gordon isn't running the Yellow Clay in this race is because he's thrown so many good horses at it over the years. Why would you bother?
And also, he lost one.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago, turned in and broke down.
Yeah.
Never seen him again.
It's devastating.
Yeah. So no real opinion at the minute. I have backed the Big Westerner. I'll definitely cheer for her. But
at big prices, who would appeal to you? Who would be on your short list?
Maybe Flicker of Hope at 16 to 1. Maybe, but like
just the type that improves, like you know what I mean, Harry, comes through the handicap ranks.
Yeah, like you've got Ballybow, and I think it's a balls of a race, to be honest, the Bartlett. And whatever your minimum bet is, that's what you should put on the Bartlett.
Okay, your top 3 for the potato race.
Stop, will you? Next. Stop the top. So not only you want the winner, you want the trifecta.
Your each way, your short list, your big price short list. Who would? I
think the Big Westerner each way at 11 to 2 is fine.
Okay,
I do. I think it's the Supreme is very deep. The Turners is quite deep, and this is not deep at all. I think it's a bad race.
She might just outclass them then.
And she just might be a star of the future. She might be.
Okay.
I think with the other ones, you're you're hoping and hoping, but that's all you have is a bit of hope.
Yeah, I see what you mean by that.
I think JetBlue would have a chance as well, definitely.
Yeah, there's a comment on Timeform about him being quite small, and I asked James about that, and he said no, he's well put together, and he has the course experience.
Yeah, he was impressive that day in a bad race.
Now, he might have changed his... Adam Mills will be on for all 4 days of the Final Furlong podcast, Cheltenham Previews. That guy's an absolute genius. He was very strong on him a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Anyway, I wouldn't be strong on anything.
So Mares Novice Hurdle, Maughreen, I don't understand this at all. 11-4 favourite for the Mares Novice Hurdle, 6.5, 130. I know you've put her up already. Caroline Bamboo is a really interesting one, 13-2. And then a couple of horses that are probably not going to run. Galileo Dame would be a good thing in this race, but she's going to go Triumph. Just a Rose would be intriguing for the Nichols team. They're your prices with Jeff Banks Bet. What's your overall impression of this race?
I think that it's far more open than what people think it is. Like Maureen at 3-1, 4-1. I think she's too short. Her jump on the last day didn't impress me overly. It was 2 miles 3. It was soft ground. That suited her. She banged into 3 or 4 of them. Now she might jump a lot better. And also, as we said with Willie's, they could improve a lot. But the form of the race is not great. Dee's Lady went off 5-4 the other day and Navan got well stuffed.
Qualamite.
But no, it was Swing Davis
and
Speculatrix that fell at the last. And Swing Davis was going to be well beat by Caroline Bamboo. So, there's parallel lines of form there. But Maureen, I think she'll end up being a lovely mare over 2-6 and soft ground.
Good thing for the Mares Chase next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a good thing, but she'd have a chance. I think she'd be a lovely chaser, fine big mare. I actually met her in person last year. I was down at a preview night and was brought to see her at her stable, and gorgeous, gorgeous mare, beautiful.
That must have been the Lord Bagnall, was it?
To my untrained eye. No, it was down in Cork.
Okay.
She wasn't in. Yeah, she wasn't in Willie's. She was gone home at that stage.
Okay.
But gorgeous mare. But I wouldn't back her. I think 2 miles 1 decent ground. You'll have to jump quite well, even if there's not that many hurdles late on. 6.5 was electric in Fairyhouse. Jumped really tidily. Wins by 12 lengths. But then again, Qualamita gets better than 11% the other day by the Sweeney horse. She'd have a good chance, but I think Maureen will go off 5-1 at least. SP. I think that 6.5 will go off 7-2. I'd see Caroline Bamboo going off maybe 5-1 as well. I think there'll be money for that. Galileo Dame would go off 5-1 maybe as well if she goes here instead of the Triumph, but there's still a big debate about that. She gets £10 if she comes here. And I'm going to give you one at a much bigger price. Let me just find it for you. I thought Therese was good in Navan. Aurora Vega is complete. That's not the one I'm giving you in a second, but the chat straight after she won the Solarina Novice Hurdle was that, she's going to come back to Fairyhouse at Easter. At that stage, I wouldn't say Willie realised there's a massive gap of more than a month between Cheltenham and the Grade 1 of Fairyhouse. So Aurora Vega is definitely overpriced. I think she's like 12-14-1. But I think Air of Entitlement, I just see her in odds checker, 20-1.
Yeah, 20-1 with Jeff Banks Bet too.
She beats Ballybowen down Royal, who's won twice since. Yeah. That was 2.5 mile. Now, the Mares Novice Hurdle is 2 miles 1. On the new track, you have to stay. Now, if you can, based on previous Mares Novice Hurdles, if you can get to the low 140s, you're bang there. You don't have to be anything near a 150 mare to win it. 140, 142 will win the race. And Air of Entitlement, I'm just trying to spot a bit of value for people, that's all. But Air of Entitlement at 20-1 would definitely be too big. And Henry's are back in form now.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he gives horse a break before Cheltenham. He doesn't mind having for them like horses maybe running at Christmas and then like the big Westerner and then coming straight to Cheltenham. Air of Entitlement was the same, wins it down Royal, beats Ballybow, who's won twice since, and he's fancied for the Albert Bartlett. So she'd have to have a chance at 20s. But I think like the two jollies at the moment, if they're 3-1, that means if you lay the two of them, you're laying an even money favourite. They look bad value to me at 3-1 and 3-1. Particularly Maureen, it's just my opinion. But I think 6.5 would definitely finish ahead of her anyway.
Yeah, it's one to be taking a swing at. There's going to be a load of Willie Mullins horses from France as well that are only once raced.
Yeah.
He pulled off a 50-1 winner before. He may very well do it again. Your shortlist to wrap it, would Aurora Vega be on it if she makes it? If she goes to the race?
Would she what?
If Aurora Vega goes, would she be high on your shortlist?
She's definitely overpriced. Like the reason that she's such a big price is that Willie said she's not going to Cheltenham. And once people hear that, they kind of ignore the horse.
Yeah.
You know? But I've no idea. I know one of the owners, Ger, but I haven't been speaking to him. So she would have a squeak. An Air of Entitlement, definitely a squeak. Caroline Bamboo, 6.5. I'm just saying to you, it's an open race, and I think the betting will reflect that on the day. I think it'll be totally different than it is now.
Yeah, that 14-1 would be intriguing if she did end up rocking up in the race. It's not a novice hurdle, but I'm going to go with it, the Triumph Hurdle, just to wrap up the hurdling division. So East India Dock, strong 15-8 favourite with Jeff Banks bet. Luamba was the strong favourite. There's obviously been a huge amount of hype about the horse. There's more leaks from Seven Barrows than if Julian Assange and Edward Snowden worked there. Like, you're just constantly hearing info from that place. And apparently he's just an absolute machine and he's away and gone. I'm not so sure about that. Hello Neighbour, 11-2. That looks big to me with Jeff Banks.
Yeah, I think it's, East India Dock has been brilliant on the clock twice. Like, really, really strong. Is he going to make it? There's talk.
Has he been the most impressive of the juvenile hurdlers?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely has been so far. I'm not saying to back him now, but on the clock and everything he's done, course and distance, jumping, staying. He's a half-brother to Burdett Road, but he was a bit of a monkey at times last year. This fella's not a monkey. He's a stayer, and you can set your watch by him. He's really solid. There's talk that Kopek might make the running for a while for the first mile and then he might take over. I don't know. You just hear all these things at Cheltenham preview nights. I don't know. Some of it's rubbish. Luamba, the form was let down obviously by Mondoman at Ascot, but he did win with a bit of a wow about him. And Nicky obviously has plenty of stars, and Lulamba could be another one, gave a lot of weight away that day. Hello Neighbour ran in the race that has given you the last 4 Triumph Hurdle winners, the Spring Juvenile at the DRF. And I backed him at Christmas, Hello Neighbour. I've backed him for the Triumph, right? So I backed him at Christmas, and Keith had him. He didn't lead now around, but he kind of sat second or third. He didn't jump great. He was a bit keen. He took her up the bend and held on by a short head from Lady Vega Alain. And then Keith learnt a lot. They put a hood on him. The horse, not Keith. And
both.
Keith's a brilliant jockey.
He's a class act.
Yeah, he's a local lad here. He's a nice fella too. Done everything right. Sat off the gallop. Travelled nicely. Wasn't too keen. Jumped better. Got the split turning in, and you thought to yourself, come to the last, oh lovely, at the DRF. Hello Neighbour's going to win by 4 or 5, do you know? Didn't, only won by maybe just over a length from Lady Vega Len, might have been third, Galileo Dane was second. You just have to remember that the Triumph Hurdle it's kind of a funny race. It's on the new course. It's 2 miles 1. Again, it's a staying race, and you need something that stays very strongly. So the 2 English trained horses are around 2-1 each of 2, give or take. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say I'll probably change my mind. I'm not going to back either of those 2. I've already backed Hello Neighbour each way. I'll probably leave it at that. As regards which the 2 jollies will win it, I don't know. I think I'd leave it till as late as possible. See how many winners Nicky's having. He had obviously a terrible Cheltenham last year. Things can change a lot in a week.
Yeah.
But if he's banging in the winners, I think Lulamb will go off favourite. And if he's not, East India Dock might go off jolly. But
this time last year, Nicky's horses were sick, and there were certain journalists on X engaged in propaganda. Well, yes, these had 15 horses pull up, but actually, these horses were big prizes, and they had no. You knew there was something very, very wrong this time last year. This time, everything seems to be fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, and he's a brilliant trainer. I think he's a great guy.
Genius. He's a great character.
He is, yeah, and he gets a lot of flack, which I think is unfair. He does the best by the horse, all the time, and I think he's right.
I've given him the flack, and I agree with that. I love the guy. I think he's brilliant.
I think Keith Donoghue has an easy enough task, in theory anyway, that East India Dock will be up at the gallop. Lulamba will be sitting 4th or 5th, and I think Keith has to sit behind Lulamba the whole way and wait. And if the horse is going, I'm not saying this will happen, but if the horse was going well enough, you don't want Hello Neighbour taking it up even at the last.
Late. Very late.
Because you can just see that at Leopardstown, he looked like he was going to whoosh away, and he didn't. You just don't want to give the others a chance to get back at you. So I'd say he'll attack very late if the horse is good enough, but maybe he's not.
In your opinion, will he stay?
Yeah, sure. He won 1 mile and 6 maiden on the flat. She's already won twice over hurdles and Leopardstown over 2 miles. This is 2-1, so... And Keith is learning about the horse. It takes a long time, I'd say, for trainers and jockeys to learn fully how to ride a horse. And like Solness in the Queen Mother Champion Chase, this fellow was going around handicap chases. He ran the Galway Plate, and right?
Yeah.
And it's only now, years later, that they've realised he needs 2 miles. He needs to go 10 lengths in front, and you might get a grade 1 out of him.
Yeah,
It's
fair play
amazing.
to Declan Carroll, by the way. He was telling people that that'll be a grade 1 horse about a year ago, I'd say. Adam Mills was tweeting he'd be a champion hurdle winner, just switch it to champion chaser. Like, they could see
Yeah.
it, and finally the team got it right. Let me just put this to you. And it's funny how you can see something and then just change your mind. And maybe I've lost my mind entirely. Well, I have. Maybe I've completely lost it. I've flip-flopped on this massively. Initially, I was like, oh my God, Luamba, nothing will touch him. This is Sergino 2.0. It's all over. I'm pretty certain the Gary Moore team would be very confident they turned the form around. Now, they might be wrong, but there's no way Mondo Man could have won that race that day. He pulled.
Yeah, but he got
way
bad
too hard
since in the Adonis.
and did the same thing again.
Oh no, I couldn't have him.
So, but that's not franking the form, and also it makes you wonder. Well, hang on, what did you really achieve that day?
Yeah.
The Durham horse ends up winning a handicap hurdle at Ludlow off 118, 119.
Absolutely. Like it's
Hello Neighbours beating Bacalachian, who beats Murcia in the best trial for the Fred Winter, and then goes and bolts up in a grade 2. And people want to tell you that, oh, but the Irish form's useless. I don't think the Irish form is useless at all. I think the Irish form might actually be the best.
Well, if you take the two jollies, East India Dock and Lulamba, out of it, there's not a lot else in the UK in the juveniles. As we said, the last 4 years you've got the winner from the Triumph from this. I think it's like 9 out of 13 years.
Yeah.
So Hello Neighbours battled hard, and obviously it was a big compliment to the horse that he put him straight into a graded race at Christmas. He didn't go for a maiden hurdle, which is very unlike Gavin Cromwell.
And the word was out.
Oh yeah. That they were fancying him for a long way out.
Massive reputation.
Was he rated 97 on the flat?
Yeah.
And Galileo Dame was even rated a little bit higher than that on the flat. So
Well, she was back for an Oaks, in fairness.
yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting race. I wouldn't stop anybody back and Hello Neighbour each way. I think he'll get a lovely toe into the race, but just is the horse good enough to beat a Lulamba? Maybe, I'm not sure.
You see, you could look at that Dublin Racing Festival race and just go, yeah, like Joseph O'Brien's horse is a big prize. All the talk going into the DRF was she was working the house down at Owning Hill and expected to run a massive race. And then she does. Lady Vega Allen is probably the best of the Willie Mullins horses. They just didn't know it at the time.
She might go to the going by the exchanges yesterday. I wonder, does Lady Vega Allen go to the
Oodles?
the
Fred
Fred
Winter.
Winters is now called again? Yeah, God knows.
Mm.
No, that's all the novice hurdles.
11-2, Hello Neighbour. I just
Wouldn't stop you.
Is that not one of the best each way scumbag bets of the meeting? Can't not be in the first 3. Might win.
Yeah, you just wouldn't be 1,000,000% sure it'll finish ahead of Galileo Dame again, but over 2-1 up that hill. Her jumping was terrible at Christmas, was a bit better, was 50% better at the DRF, but it needs to improve again.
20-1 with Jeff Banks bet, Galileo Dame.
Is that non-runner no better, anti-post?
No, you got to have balls of steel.
No, she's 50-50 to go to the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, so don't back that anti-post. No.
They'll go for this. Grade 1. They could go for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle next season, retain their novice status.
Yeah, somebody said the other night, why would Galileo Dame here? And somebody said that one of the owners has backed it for the Triumph, so we'll see.
1-2. Hello Neighbour, Galileo Dame. That spring juvenile, horses beaten in it, got a great record.
Yeah.
In the Triumph.
Yeah, she'll look at Magic, yeah.
20-1. Okay, final selections for the Triumph Hurdle.
Jesus.
If it is non-runner no bet, 20-1, Galileo Dame. Would that be your
Definitely a little each way on that is no harm, yeah. I think Lulamba will be very difficult to beat, but Galileo Dame and Hello Neighbour both have each way squeaks. I think it's very competitive. There's some races that I'd be clear on. There's other races you can't be clear in every race, and I think this is a muddy one.
Best novice hurdle bet of the meeting?
I think the Big Westerner at 11-2 each way is definitely good value.
I did not expect you to say a horse in the potato race. Fair play.
You know, I could say I think Kopek Des Bordes will win at evens, but evens, sure, you're not getting rich at evens.
I admire you. It's so easy to be on a preview panel and go, yeah, the nap of the meeting is the odds-on favourite.
No, that's no use to anybody.
It's just an ATM machine. Go collect. That's what somebody said about War of Attrition in the Arkle. Wah, wah.
No, you can't do that.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.